serving as the chairman of the board for TFA here in the DC region. So one of the great privileges of being on that board and serving as chair is that we get to work with extraordinary young leaders. And I'm about to introduce you to one. We had the privilege of interviewing this young man and hiring him just earlier this year to serve as our executive director. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me with a warm welcome to introduce the executive director of TFA for the DC region, Ryan Teradian.
All right, I'm still a principal at heart, so everyone take your seats immediately. But I'm also an early childhood educator still at heart, so I could start with the song. My eyes are looking forward, my hands are in my lap, my mouth is closed, I put on my thinking cap. Are we ready? It is such a pleasure to be with you all this evening. Thank you so much for being here on our 30th anniversary, Mark. Thank you for the lovely introduction and for being a wonderful board chair to me this year. As he said, I'm Ryan Tariainen, 2008 Hawaii Corps member, DC teacher, principal, district leader, and now the executive director of an organization that has always felt like home to me. In 1992, while Teach for America was still in its infancy, 18 young people came together in the District of Columbia with a promise to provide an excellent education to their students. 30 years later, these brave souls are still making a difference as leaders of classrooms, school districts, law practices, and nonprofits. Just as they evolved, so too has Teach for America. For 30 years, Teach for America has transformed the lives of children and adults in the DC region. We have produced chancellors, state superintendents, state teachers of the year, a national teacher of the year, and a cavalcade of leaders at the district, school, and classroom level. Over 30 years, our teachers and alumni have impacted thousands of students in Washington, D.C., Prince George's County, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. Tonight, we commit to affecting thousands more. It was meaningful to me, and I hope to all of you, to hear from a teacher who was present when all of this started, and to hear a teacher who continues to hold the torch today. Yes, it has been 30 years, but despite momentous change and progress, there is still a need for equity-minded organizations like Teach for America who are committed to children and attract diverse leaders to transform student lives and be transformed themselves. Every person sitting in this room is playing a role to ensure our students have a fighting chance to attain the college degree and career of their choice. We believe that by 2030, twice as many students in the communities we serve will achieve educational milestones that will put them on a path toward economic mobility. In the DC region, we will do this by being hyper-localized, investing in early childhood, education, and elementary literacy in places like DC Wards 7 and 8. We will invest in our alumni principals by providing targeted professional development and organizing a learning community for them to grow from each other. We will continue to recruit, train, and support the most diverse teaching preparation program in the country. And for the first time in 30 years, we will ensure that DC's pre-service training takes place locally rather than outsourced to another community. Taking on the role of executive director of such an important region this year has been among the greatest honors of my life. In over a decade of experience in DC, I have been a principal, a district leader, and a federal employee. And while each stage has had its challenges, none is more challenging than the work I did as a classroom teacher. In 2008, as a freshly graduated 22-year-old, I committed to teach for 2 years in an underserved school as a Corps member in Wahiawa, Hawaii. And like many of those who came before me, my life was completely transformed. I'd like to believe a few of my students were transformed as well. On the heels of a humbling but successful first year of teaching 7th grade English, my principal asked another core member and myself to take on a special cohort of 60 students in our second year. We would have adjoining classrooms and teach all their core subjects. The students selected for our cohort fell into one of 3 categories: lowest test scores in the 6th grade, extreme behavior concerns, or newly arrived to the district. When the year started, most of my students understood what was going on. I'll never forget the defeated sigh of one student the first day of school when he said, "Man, they put me in the dumb class." But I was not about to accept that. From day one, I treated my classroom as if it were advanced 7th grade English, even if technically the classroom labeled advanced was across the breezeway. We learned SAT level vocabulary words, read 8 classroom novels, penned letters to the president, caught up on 2 years worth of objectives, wrote dozens of essays, and even practiced public speaking. Throughout the process, I committed myself to differentiating, tutoring, and believing in my kids with all my heart. And let me tell you, when adults are willing to work hard for kids, kids are willing to work hard for adults. Together, my class set a goal. By the end of the year, we would outperform all other classes in our school on the state assessment. When the week of that assessment came, you have never seen preteens so excited to take a test. The confidence was palpable. I remember seeing little grins growing across their faces as they wrote their short essays, and waiting for the results was like torture. But an unlikely email received weeks before summer vacation stole all of our attention. The governor of Hawaii, Linda Lingle, wanted to pay a visit to my classroom to meet my students. The kids were so excited. Dress codes in Hawaii are extremely lax, yet on the day of her visit, my students came to school in their best suits and dresses. The governor was incredibly kind. She took questions and asked her own. She even presented a gift to the school. But perhaps the greatest news is what came after. It wasn't just that my students achieved the highest test scores in our school. They had the highest scores in the entire state of Hawaii. My life was forever changed. I knew I would remain in education for the rest of my career. It was proof that Teach for America can take equity-minded leaders and make them into transformative educators. No matter what I do, nothing will ever top that moment, but one comes close. Just a few years ago, I was floored when one of the students from that incredible class named Marley contacted me through Facebook to let me know that he was about to graduate from college. It was like a dream come true to me. I remember sitting at my computer and weeping with pride. When I got home, I went through my box of saved items from my years as a teacher and found an essay that Marley wrote about me when he was 13 years old. In it, he says, "He's a good teacher because he's smart, he's fun to learn with, and he cares. Mr. T is the teacher that changed my life." Kids like Marley, that's what it's all about for me. That's why I teach for America. In a matter of moments, we are going to call on everyone's generosity to help us continue this important work. We have the vision and the team. Now we just need the coffers to make it all come to light. Leadership transitions, a pandemic, and changing landscapes have made fundraising more difficult in a time when Teach for America is needed more than ever. We must attend to the teacher shortage in our neighborhoods that deserve the best. I think together we can beat a record tonight and raise another $200,000 for the students and educators of the DC region. This would allow us to bring an additional 20 teachers into the region next year. So please, help me ensure more stories of success like the one written about my student Marley come to fruition. Our kids deserve it.
inspiring words, and while you've been working on this, we've been working on a surprise for you. Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to bring to the stage Marley T, who's joining us from West Point.
That's awesome.
Marley, we're not going to make you speak. Ryan, we're not going to make you speak anymore. Thank you, Marley, for joining us. Thank you for continuing to be an inspiration for Ryan as well.
I do believe that one more applause for Mr. T is in order. I love your speech. It was truly touching. It brought me right back to 2009 at Wheeler Middle School, and you're definitely the catalyst for my expectation of what education was going to look like going forward. Not just as a middle schooler at such a tender time, but also living in Hawaii where I could ditch school, go surfing, or do something else with my time. But it was exciting. And I'm incredibly honored to be here tonight. Ryan, your team has been absolutely incredible. I can't even find the words right now to express my gratitude for being here. So thank you guys so much for having me this evening. And
All right, if that doesn't inspire you. Give it up one more time for Marley and Ryan. Now, as you heard, we are about to begin